All right. Let's see who we have. Okay. Everybody's in there. Great, great. Okay. So, hi guys. We're going to go ahead and get started. I think I have to allow everybody to talk. I'm going to allow everybody to talk if you want to talk. Okay. Okay, awesome, awesome. Hi, everybody. I'll go ahead and get started. I think I don't have a facilitator, so I'll just go ahead and start. This is Donna Webb. Hello, everyone. We're doing a webinar today, eating healthy during a pandemic. Hopefully, you guys got the handouts. Raise your hand or send me a chat message if you guys have any questions that were going on, but let me know if somebody could just chat and let me know if you got the handouts. I sent those last night to your emails. So guys just maybe send me a chat message or something and let me know you got those. Excellent. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Frederick. Thank you, Justin. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay. All right. So I love this topic. It's really timely. And the cool thing is about so many things are out of our control right now. One thing we can control is building our immune system. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Anytime through the presentation, it should just go an hour. It hasn't taken me longer than an hour, but if we have lots of questions, who knows? But go ahead and send me a chat message if you guys have a question. I'll try and keep my eye on the chats and see if we have any questions, and I'll try and stop and answer those. Feel free to jump in because we're going to get a little sciencey. You guys know me, and you know I love the science part. I also want to just take a second to introduce Rachel Wemple. She is a dietitian who's working with me now. If you guys have come to see me at the office over here on Sunshine Street or Madrid, you know that I was by myself, but now I have a partner, and she's fabulous. And she is actually in network with Cigna, which is fantastic. So she can see you guys. And also, as part of your handout, you got some information about our new program called Boot Camp. It has been fantastic. It is a great program. Feel free to give me a call or email me if you have any questions about that, but I would love for you to do it. And Cigna pays for your face-to-face visits, so that's what's really cool about it. So anyway, okay, jumping right in. I'm going to share my screen, and then we will get started. Okay. Slideshows from the beginning. All right. Okay. So I'm going to click through here. So I'm going to go ahead and just start from the beginning. Many of you have probably heard my story, but let's go ahead and just start from there. You're probably wondering why I have a big plate of chocolate chip cookies in front of your face right now. Hopefully you already ate breakfast. I want to start with kind of talking about what healthy eating is. And just kind of telling my story. I was a low-fat dietitian forever. So for 20, 25 years, I was that low-fat dietitian that told you to eat everything fat-free and make sure that your, cheese isn't supposed to melt on your cheeseburger, and, low-fat dressing is supposed to taste like that kind of thing, trying to convince people that it was delicious. And then I went to a dietitian meeting here about 8 or 10 years ago here in Springfield, where the message was, fat might not be as bad as we thought, and sugar might be a whole lot worse than we thought. And I was literally knocked off my horse. I believed what I had been teaching for years and years, and I was working with a ministry at the time where we dealt with a lot of little kids. I was literally having dreams that I was handing out cookies to little kids and had to go back to them and take their cookies back. I mean, that's kind of how nuts I was. But I didn't want to throw out everything I thought I knew and replace it with a new set of rules without really understanding the research better. And so everything I'm teaching you now, everything I teach my clients and patients now is based on that kind of pile of research of what was actually creating chronic disease. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about next. Just a little bit. I'm just going to give you a little bit of nutrition history here. So this slide represents a survey that's been going on for years, and it's called the NHANES study. And it's a food frequency questionnaire that goes out to, I don't know how many thousands of Americans all over the country. And it basically asks them how much of different foods and what foods are they eating and how often they're eating those. And are they doing skim milk or whole milk? Do they put butter on their pancakes? All that kind of stuff. And then people like me love to look at that collective data and learn more about what people are eating so we can help them better. And so on this slide, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse. I'm going to use my mouse, but I'll kind of point this out. We're going to look at that graph on the top left-hand side first, and that's the NHANES men's study. And along the bottom of that graph, those indicate years. So that would be 1971 to 74, 76 to 80, 88 to 94, 99 to 2000. And so right about that 76 to 80 point, that's when the first dietary guidelines for Americans came out, where the recommendation was eat less fat. Fat is bad. Don't eat so much fat. Start to decrease your fat intake. And that was right about there. So then we can see what kind of happened to, in general, the macronutrients that Americans started eating. So you'll notice, we'll start with the top line here. So at the top, you can see right at that point, our calories started to go up. So right then, our calories started to rise. You'll notice down at the bottom part, our fat pretty much stayed the same. So we were told to eat less fat, but really we ate about the same amount of fat. And look what happened to our carbohydrate intake. Our carbohydrate intake started to increase. And so if you hop over to the women's graph, we see the same thing. Calories started to increase, fat pretty much stayed the same, but our carbohydrate intake started to increase, because if fat is bad, that must mean then that carbohydrates are good. Okay, so that's kind of what happened with how we started eating. And then this bottom graph down here, this indicates the growth of diabetes. And you'll notice we were already starting to kind of increase our rates of diabetes, but right at that, again, that 75, 80 mark, that is when 1980, that's when the rates of diabetes really started to take off, and we have not stopped. We have not looked back. So the rates of people being overweight, chronic disease, and diabetes continues, and is set to continue all the way to 2030. They've estimated that about half of Americans at that point will have body mass index over 30. So it's not slowing down. So this is definitely something that everybody has to kind of take ownership of and change the course of yourself and your family. I just went on a soapbox. I'll get off my soapbox. Let's get back on track. So anyway, so that's one thing that happened because of that low fat message. And so I just want to really propose that we change how we think about healthy eating, that no longer is healthy eating equal low fat, fat-free eating, but really healthy eating should be whole food eating. Not only did we start to eat more carbohydrate foods, but also the food industry created all this artificially low fat, fat-free food, and that's how we kind of got into the mess we're in. So anyway, so that's kind of our standard for moving forward. So let's talk about COVID eating or pandemic eating. Really, when we talk about what do we need to eat in these times where we feel maybe more inundated with potential viruses and infections, we need to focus on our immune system. So we want to have just like this superpower immune system. And so that's kind of what we're going to focus. How do we get the strongest, most protective immune system that we can get? So we're going to start off. The immune system actually lives in the gut. That is where we have trillions of good bacteria that actually interact with all the different processes of our body. And so we call that sort of that system, we call that the microbiome. And so that is, again, where tens of trillions of bacteria, fungi, viruses all live in our digestive tract. And that's actually where your immune system learns what to attack and what not to attack. That's where we strengthen or build the muscle of those good bacteria, that microbiome, so that it can be a protective force for you. So what do we mean when we say we want to keep that microbiome healthy? There's basically two parts to that. The first part is for that microbiome or that environment or that ecosystem of all these healthy bugs. We want to keep that diverse and flourishing. We want to keep lots of them in our gut, and we want to have lots of different kinds, lots of different types of colonies, and lots of different types of families of those good bugs living in our gut. And the second part of that is that you know that your small intestine or your whole intestinal system, but really we think about that small intestine, that is a long tube created by cells. You can kind of think of those as bricks. And we want those bricks to have very tight junctions. We don't want separation between those. You may have heard that term before, leaky gut. And that's where this comes from. So if we develop junctures, and you can kind of see in that graph that's there, that when we have inflammation, when we have what we're going to talk about, a highly processed, not very healthy diet, we can develop these gaps in between those cells. And when that happens, there's toxins that aren't supposed to leave the gut that can leave the gut and go into the bloodstream and create all kinds of chronic diseases. Specifically, we think of brain diseases and neurological diseases that can be developed by a specific toxin called lipopolysaccharide, abbreviated LPS. And they can actually measure levels of LPS in your bloodstream and directly relate that to how much leaky gut you have, or how much gaps or inflammation you have in your gut. So those are the two things that we want to accomplish when we talk about keeping your immune system really healthy and keeping you really protected from any kind of pandemic or any kind of diseases that are coming up. I'm checking. It doesn't look like we have any questions so far. You guys hung with me through all that sciencey stuff. I appreciate it. So when we talk about keeping your gut healthy, we talk about, bear with me one sec. I want to keep respect your time. I just want to make sure I had a clock nearby. So when we want to keep that gut healthy, we do that in 3 stages. We want to weed out the bad stuff. We want to reseed or replant those good bugs. And then we want to feed and nurture and give great nutrition, fertilize those good bugs. So it's weed, seed, and feed. That's how we're going to approach keeping our gut healthy and getting a strong immune system. All right, I'm going to flip over to this slide. So you guys, if you've been to any of my talks before, you've been to see me, you know I'm passionate about reading ingredients labels. Like, I want you to become literally an ingredients warrior, that nothing makes it into your basket at the grocery store until you have read the ingredients. Nothing makes it into your mouth until you know what ingredients are in whatever you're eating. And so the 3 basic rules are to avoid any kinds of foods with any type of added sugar. And when we talk about sugar, sugar is added to 80% of the foods at the grocery store have some sort of added sugar. And you might find one food item with sugar added 7 different ways. Literally, if you're eating a fiber bar right now, I want you to turn it over and read the ingredients. Fiber One bars have 7 different types of ingredients in them. It's kind of nuts. But anyway, so sugar ingredients. So when we talk about sugar, you know, has many different names on ingredients labels. So it might say agave nectar, brown sugar, cane sugar, corn sweetener, corn syrup solids, fructose, dextrin, dextrose, cane juice, you know, and we think fruit juice concentrate, oh, it must be healthy. It's not, it's just sugar. Fructose, glucose, high fructose corn syrup. The corn industry had a bunch of commercials a few years ago that said high fructose corn syrup is the same as regular sugar. It is, and it's worse, and it's everywhere. So avoid that. Honey, invert sugar, lactose, maltose, malt syrup, molasses, raw sugar, and sugar. You will find all of those on the labels. They all mean sugar. They are all the most inflammatory thing in your diet. So truly getting those off of your, avoid any foods that have those on the ingredients list. We also want to avoid foods that have more than 5 ingredients. So foods with those long ingredients labels, you want to avoid those. And we want to avoid foods with ingredients that you can't pronounce and you don't know what they look like. Okay, that seems kind of obvious, but I had to be told that just as much as anybody had to be told that. So those are the 3 simple rules. And once you kind of get in the practice of this, you will be able to literally tell an ingredients label from afar. You'll be able to look at it. Nope, that's not going in my grocery basket. So that's what we're looking for. So I want to give you guys a couple of examples of that. This is the famous potato chip example. You might have heard this before, but it never hurts to review. So I really ignore the nutrition facts label. We know that the manufacturer can manipulate the nutrition facts label by manipulating the serving size to make a food look higher or lower in something that they're trying to sell. We want to kind of, I call it lifting up the hood and look and see what's actually in the food. And so we go down here to the ingredients label, and you'll notice on regular potato chips, we have potatoes, vegetable oil, sunflower, corn, and or canola oil, and salt. I basically have 3 ingredients: potatoes, oil, salt. I know what all 3 of those ingredients looks like, and there's no added sugar. Then we want to hop over to the baked chips, and we have dried potatoes, cornstarch, sugar, corn oil, salt, soy lecithin, and corn sugar. I have 7 ingredients. I have 2 kinds of sugar, and I have an ingredient I have no idea what it looks like. So when we talk about inflammation and what's going to cause that leaky gut and kill off those good bacteria, we're talking about the baked chips. And that's what, again, in my former dietitian life, that's what I was telling people to eat. That's what I ate all the time. But now we know that's creating inflammation and chronic disease. The other thing I want to mention is that we know that potatoes are a good source of vitamin C. So if I want to know how much vitamin C is left in the potato chips, I'm going to come down here to the daily value, and we have 10% daily value of vitamin C in regular chips. If I hop over, if I hop over to the baked chips, we drop down to 4%. And that's really a perfect storm. Like, baked chips have more junk in them that would make us sick and less nutrition that would have protected us from all that inflammation. So literally it's a perfect storm. Now, before you leave here thinking I'm telling people to eat potato chips, this is the most unprocessed potato, and this one has 45% of our daily value of vitamin C. So it's literally a food we should be increasing in our diet, especially when we're trying to increase our immune system. So we want to get away from food. We want to get closer to food, or food closer to nature as much as we can. And that's the point of that story. Bad news for the cream coffee drinkers. Okay, so this is non-dairy creamer. This is literally, if you wanted to create a perfectly inflammatory food, this is how you would do it. You would start with sugar. So we have corn syrup solids. You would add lots of hydrogenated fat and then lots of chemicals: sodium caseinate, dipotassium phosphate, mono and diglyceride, sodium aluminosilicate, lots and lots of chemicals. Man, that is an inflammation party. There you go. So we want to compare that to regular half and half milk and cream. That's the kind of ingredients you're looking for. And believe it or not, you're able to find those things at the grocery store. You just really have to sort through the 80% of other foods that have an ingredients label like that. So, okay. So moving along. So those are the kinds of things to avoid. That's the stuff to weed out of your diet. Then we want to reseed. Okay. Then we want to seed and replant the good bugs. Okay, we want to replenish the good bugs, and you can do that in a couple different ways. Certainly there's the great probiotic supplements that are out there, and if you're going to do a probiotic supplement, it is a capsule and it's just full of those good bacteria. What you want to look for is 20 to 50 billion colony forming units. So that's what you're looking for on the container. And you also want to get a diverse, or a bunch of different kinds of those bugs. You should be able to find those. They actually should have those listed on the probiotics that you're using or you're looking at using. And these are just some of the more common ones that have a lot of great research behind them and show that they're really protective and improvement in building an immune system. The brand that we really like here is the Orthomolecular. Yeah, that's the brand that we really like. We can actually send you a link to order that, or I'm sure you can get it at your local health food store like Mama Jean's or something like that. But the Orthomolecular, that's one that we really like. We like that brand for about everything, for all the supplements. And so that's a great brand if you're looking for one. So that's one way to get your good bacteria built up. Another one, a little bit more naturally, is to actually start to utilize some fermented foods and drinks, add those to your diet. A fermented food or drink, it's just a food that undergoes a process where yeast and bacteria are intentionally multiplied, and they convert the sugar, the starches and sugar, into like alcohol or acid. So think like apple cider vinegar, yogurt, that's another great one. Sauerkraut maybe more in a jar, Rachel, would you say, is going to have more of those probiotics, not maybe in a can, which is kind of just vinegar, like vinegar's added to it. So we really want to find more of the natural sauerkraut where it's really growing those good bugs. Kimchi is another one, not very common here, but that's like fermented vegetables, and then kombucha is another one. It's becoming more and more common. I know some of the health food stores actually sell it on tap, that you can get that. And kombucha is kind of like juice and tea, and that's been fermented. And there's a lot of great brands that you can get out there now. It's kind of even available at Walmart, so you could pretty much get that anywhere. I do drink about 4 ounces of that a day. I've added that to my diet kind of the afternoon. It's sort of my breaking up the afternoon, kind of get something to, I don't know, get me through the rest of the afternoon. And then kefir's another one. That's going to be more of a dairy type product. A lot of times it's going to be almost like a liquid yogurt or a drinkable yogurt, if you kind of explain it like that. So watch out for any of those, though, that they don't have a lot of added sugar. I've tasted some of the kefirs where it seems like they taste really sweet. So I think that there's actually adding some other flavorings to kind of get over that tart taste. And with all of these, they will have a tart. And tart is a nice way of saying super sour to me. So a lot of them will have kind of a sour. So go into it expecting that. And then actually the kombucha especially, it's very fizzy. So when those bugs are actually multiplying, they're creating carbon dioxide. So if you shake up the kombucha bottle, it will explode on you. And I'm speaking from experience. So just be kind of careful when you're tempted to shake it, because it does have sort of floaties in the bottom of it. Those are the good bugs. And so just kind of, shaking it very slowly, and so it doesn't explode all over you. So that's my tip with a kombucha. Sorry, my iPad is, my Siri's talking to me over here. We're trying to, I guess, just close that. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, sorry guys, we're back on track. All right, so then we want to feed. And this is where I just am becoming, like, I will get on my soapbox on this one. So we've got to then provide fuel and nutrition to these good bacteria. And I'm gonna step aside here. Rachel and I work with a doctor in Ozark, and he's a functional medicine doctor, and he does tons of testing on all kinds of different micronutrients and omega-3, and looks at all these different, looking for deficiencies and how well nourished people are at that point. And his clientele, I would say, is a little bit wealthier. They're very educated. They've already made some intentional changes in their diet. And you would not believe how many people still have deficiencies. I'm amazed at what we're seeing with that. And that's not anything negative. That's just to say how hard it really is to get all the nutrition that we need from all the different foods and all the different vitamins and minerals and iodine and magnesium and calcium and vitamin D and E and B and folic acid and B12 and omega-3s. I mean, all these different things he's looking at, and people have multiple deficiencies. So I want to encourage you to be really intentional that every single morsel that goes into your mouth is packed full of nutrition. Don't waste a calorie. Make sure everything you take in has tons of these phytochemicals, vitamins, and minerals. So anyway, that's I'm going to get back to that some more. I'm not going to get off that soapbox, but some specific nutrients that we really want you to focus on is fiber at the top of the list. Our goal for fiber is 25 grams of fiber per day. That is really hard to do unless you are eating tons of vegetables, adding some of these really high fiber foods, maybe like beans and legumes and things like that. It's really hard to kind of get up to that. So every meal you have, if you can include something that's a high fiber food all day long, that's going to be a really great thing to do. Vitamin D is a really big one with the immune system. Now, what we're finding in the research is that it's the vitamin D deficiency that is so harmful to the immune system. Once you are fully nourished with your vitamin D and you have good vitamin D levels, having better vitamin D levels doesn't necessarily make you have a better immune system, but if you're deficient, you absolutely are very vulnerable when it comes to your immune system. So vitamin D is a big one. Vitamin C is another one. So we've got to be making sure that and vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin, which means that we can't really store much vitamin C. So you want to really make sure that you're getting good sources of vitamin C every single day. The B complex is really important for your immune system. We're now finding, so let me just say something about B vitamins and some other nutrients, but B vitamins in particular. Checking my time. Yeah, we're doing good. So B vitamins, in order for us to actually utilize the B vitamin and it actually be beneficial for us, the body has to put it through about a 3 or 4 step methylation process. So it has to add a methyl group. That's a sciencey kind of term, but it has to add that to the B vitamin in order for us to use it. And now, because so many people are getting DNA testing, we're realizing that many people are unable to methylate their B vitamins. And so we're finding deficiencies because people just aren't able to utilize those B vitamins that they're taking in. So if you're going to do a supplemented B vitamin, we are recommending methylated folic acid and B12 specifically. So anyway, just something to kind of think about when you're thinking about maybe some supplements that you want to start doing. Zinc and magnesium, big, really important to keep that microbiome really healthy. And those are very common to have deficiencies of those. So thinking about those. The turmeric, you guys probably have heard how anti-inflammatory turmeric is. There's a ton of great data that supports that. So finding ways to maybe supplement or adding that to your cooking. I've heard some people add it to their salt shakers. So every time they're salting their food, they're actually getting some more turmeric actually added to their food without it really changing the taste very much. So any way you can kind of increase those anti-inflammatory herbs and spices, that's a great thing to do. Garlic is a great one. We also are recommending the licorice root, the deglycerized or licorice root. That actually is another great herb to add. And then phytochemicals in general. So let me talk phytochemicals for a second. Phytochemicals are the chemicals in vegetables that give the vegetable its color. So if you're thinking like carrots, what makes carrots orange is beta carotene, and that's a really important antioxidant, anti-cancer sort of phytochemical. Thinking about tomatoes, what makes those red is lycopene, and lycopene's been shown to be protective for men against prostate cancer. There's not one vegetable that does not have this in it. Not only is it what gives the vegetable its color, it's also what makes the vegetable stinky. So the stuff in garlic and Brussels sprouts and onions, those are all phytochemicals. We've got to get these in all day long and get a bunch of them in, okay? So what to eat? Lots and lots of colorful vegetables. We recommend half a plate of vegetables, of the low-carb vegetables at lunch, half a plate at dinner. More if you can get them, throw them in your scrambled eggs, wherever you can slip these in. This is so, so important. Legumes are a great source of the fiber, great source of protein as well. So getting those in wherever you can, maybe even throwing those on your salad, adding those to your meals from throughout the week is a great thing to do. Avocados are a superfood. Avocados If you eat an entire avocado, you've just made half of your goal for fiber. So an avocado has about 12 or 13 grams of fiber in the whole avocado, and that's what I want you to do. I want you to eat the entire avocado. Remember, every calorie that you eat should be chock full of nutrition, and that's a great way to utilize those calories, those fat calories in an avocado. Avocado oil is wonderful. Avocado oil is a monounsaturated fat. Avocado oil, I'm just really learning about this, but it's a great oil for cooking because it has a very high smoke point. So if you're going to do roasting vegetables or you're going to do stir frying vegetables, avocado oil has a smoke point at about 500 degrees. So it's a great oil to cook with. So put that on your grocery list, just do it. Talk about the fatty fishes. So we want to actually increase fatty fish, and that is because that they're high in omega-3, and omega-3 is very anti-inflammatory. It's very good for your gut health. And so the fatty fishes, we use the acronym SMASH. So that stands for salmon, mackerel, anchovies, just close it, sardines, and herring. So any place you can add those, and those, the reason we kind of specify those fishes, they're high in omega-3, but they're also low in mercury. And so we really want to kind of watch that mercury slipping in for people that are eating more and more fish. But I'm not joking. Add more fatty fish to your diet. I'll tell you 2 ways that I've done it. In general, I'm adding more, getting one of those really long, fresh salmon fillets at Sam's Club. I make one of those up about every week or every other week, and I just cut those in about 2 to 3 inch steaks, and I cook them all off at one time. Now I've got salmon to throw in my salad every day, or I've got it to eat a couple times, you know, for dinner. So that's a great way to add salmon to your diet. The other one I'm really loving is mackerel, canned mackerel. They have a can for about $1.88 at Walmart, and it's a fillet, so it doesn't look weird and there's no eyeballs looking at you or anything like that, but it's a great fillet. I'll bring that to work, and I just flip that on my salad some days as well. I'm going to tell you one fail that I had, and I wish I had the picture. Maybe I could, anyway. I tried sardines on my salad. I just got a can of sardines. I dumped that on my salad one day, and I couldn't get past all these dead fish laying on my salad. So I probably ate about half of it. I don't think I got through even half of it. It was, I took a picture. If you follow us on Facebook, you probably saw that picture. But anyway, so that's another story. Berries. Can't say enough about berries. The color in berries is literally an antioxidant powerhouse. So the blueberries, try and get those in every day. We talk about cruciferous vegetables. Those are vegetables where the leaves have kind of a cross on them. If you can kind of picture how like a Brussels sprout leaf is, or spinach, or kale is a great one. Those are great. Again, super powerhouse. Lots of the nutrients that we talked about, the C and the zinc and the magnesium, those are all great. The folic acid, all of those are great sources of all the nutrition that we've talked about. Add those every week. Mushrooms are great. Spinach is great. Nuts and seeds are a great source of some of the omegas that we talked about, and olives and olive oil. Anywhere you can add these, load up your salad. Just make your salad a powerhouse of immune protection every single day, and you'll be doing great. So, okay. So that's weed, seed, and feed. How do you put it together? This is my famous plate. So half your plate should be vegetables or low carb vegetables. We talked about those healthy fats. Pour those healthy fats somewhere on that plate. Make sure you're not skipping your protein, and control those carb portion sizes. Carbs, you know, carbs are just one little molecule away from sugar. So you want to just limit your carb. I really don't want you measuring stuff. You know, that'll make somebody crazy and somebody hate food and have a bad, guiltful relationship with food. We're trying to avoid that, and to have people have just a really healthy relationship with food, where we respect food and honor it, and how nourished we are, and how important it is for all the little bugs that live in us and on us. So really important to kind of really, every morsel that goes in your mouth needs to be packed with nutrition. Okay. This always happens to me with a webinar. I speed through. So I'm just going to check. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions? Let's see where my questions are. Q&A. Maybe that's where it is. Okay. Okay. I don't see any questions so far. So now let's talk about kind of how you do. Oh, somebody did raise their hand. All right. Hang on. Sue has a question, I believe. Okay, Sue, you're unmuted. Did you have a question? I wonder why we're not seeing chats. Oh, here we go. Okay, here we go. Probiotics, when looking at them, we see different options saying they have XX number of CFUs and strains. How many are really necessary? Are we good if we try to cover the bases and get what is listed on your slide? I'm sorry, you don't have a microphone. I see that. All right, excellent. Okay, so yeah, so we talked about that. So 20 to 50 billion colony forming units is pretty much what you want to look for. Rachel, do you have any opinion about the strains or how many strains they should be looking for?
About getting a variety is key because there's trillions of bacteria in our gut and a lot of them aren't even identified. So I think that getting the probiotic source plus the fermented source from Food Choices are going to give you that variety that will kind of seed the population in your gut. So that's what I found most helpful.
I love that. So did you hear that okay, Sue? Go ahead and message me. Did you hear Rachel's answer? Great. And then, so that's a really good point. So maybe doing both, like doing fermented food plus the probiotics. That's a great way to do it. We want lots of different kinds of bugs. We believe in diversity. This is your diversity talk for the week. So very good. All right, I'm going to go to some more questions. Okay, excellent. All right, thanks, Sue. Great question. Okay, so now we're going to go through some practical tips about how you do this. How do we go through and really have a strategy for how we develop our menu for the week? How do we develop our grocery list for the week? So these are some pretty strategic sort of rubber hit the road strategies. So we'll go through this now. So I really believe it starts with an inventory of your kitchen. So sitting in your kitchen, and we want to really go through all the different, so going through your freezer, your refrigerator, your pantry. And I start with really looking at what protein sources I have. I go through my freezer and look and see what frozen meat I have. And then I go into my meat drawers, see what I've thawed out. And I really encourage you to always have at least 2 different meats thawing in your meat drawer. As soon as you cook something, you're pulling something else out of the freezer. Even if you don't know that day when or what you're going to do with it, just pull something out. Because if you get home from work and you have nothing thawed out, you're going to be calling Domino's, and that's not what we want you to do. So you always want to have something at the ready in your meat drawer. So when I'm doing my inventory, I go through my frozen section of my freezer. I go through my meat drawer. I look and see what canned meat I might have. I do a little bit of canned salmon, a little bit of canned tuna, a little bit of canned chicken sometimes, reading the ingredients, of course. And so that's where I start. And then that's what I build my meals around. So when I'm trying to think through my week, thinking through how much busyness I have, which nights I'm going to be coming home late from work, or I have activities, or nights I do have a little bit more time where I might want to try a new recipe. I kind of think through that through my week, and then that's what determines my menu. And so using my meal planning plate, I always try and kind of put a meal together like that. My mandatories, of course, are my protein and my vegetables. So I'm looking through my frozen vegetables. I'm looking through my vegetable drawer, looking through, maybe we do a little bit of canned green beans. My husband's not very diverse when it comes to the vegetables that he likes. So my backup plan is green beans for him. So, but looking through that, seeing what I have available, and you probably are going to have to go through your vegetable drawer and maybe throw something out that's been sitting there for a little bit, but that really helps you remember too, to be intentional about getting those vegetables in before you've wasted all that great nutrition. So using that menu planning plate to think through immune building side dishes, maybe even go through and add some things you hadn't thought about before, add some fuel, some oils you hadn't thought about before, making sure that you do some good avocados. And I'll give you another avocado tip. We've recently discovered frozen chunked avocados. So if you're a person that hasn't been buying avocados because you throw them out before there's such a short window when they're not too hard and they become moldy, that really yummy window is usually pretty short. So I have some backup avocado in my freezer now. I found it at Aldi's. They're just frozen chunk avocado for about $3. You can get a bag of that. I've heard they're at Sam's, but I haven't been able to find them. And I've heard they're at Walmart, but I haven't been able to find them. I did find them at Aldi's. So if any of you guys find it at Sam's, take a picture of where you found it so I can figure out where to find it at Sam's or Walmart. I would appreciate that. We all have to be in this together. And then I think through crock pot meals, I have really discovered sort of the sweet spot with cooking beef in my crock pot. It's 6 hours on high and it's as tender as you would ever want to eat. And then we load it up with all those great vegetables we talk about. We load it up with carrots and potatoes and onions and garlic. And so we have all this delicious flavors going through there. And I've got a ton of those great phytochemicals when we have it. And we do that every week. That's just a chuck roast in the crock pot every week. That's a staple at our house. Think about what you could do on the grill, doing some prep ahead meals. And so getting in more routine of how you can do vegetables at lunchtime the next day. So when you're kind of cleaning up for dinner, that should be your trigger to put your leftover, to pack your lunch for the next day. So you always have vegetables at least twice a day and a lot of vegetables all the time. So more of that automation you can put into your life. This is how you should be eating, okay? Food is not supposed to be quick and easy. It's supposed to be take a little time to cook, to prep, and be bursting with nutrition. Okay, let's talk canned and frozen for a second. So if you feel like you are wasting some money because you're not getting to those fresh vegetables, think of canned and frozen. Canned and frozen vegetables are picked and I guess sort of processed at their peak growing point. So in the wintertime especially, they're actually going to be more nutritious than fresh vegetables, really, because fresh vegetables have to be picked, in a warmer climate and then shipped. They're going to have to be picked early and then shipped to the middle of the country to get to us in Missouri. And potentially they're not even gaining all the nutrition that we want them to. They're not drawing up all the vitamins and minerals we want them to before they have to be picked. So consider those. Those could be a great choice, especially like I said, during non-growing seasons in this climate. Read labels. Do I need to say that again? Read labels, read labels, read labels. It's just going to take you a little bit longer. Once you get really comfortable with a label, still read it because the food industry is going to change it up all the time. Some things I thought didn't have a chemical now do have chemicals in them. I hate to tell you, but that half and half slide I showed you earlier, that was great value half and half at Walmart. Now they've got some sort of diphosphate something in it. But just keep working at it. You will be able to find those foods at the grocery store. And so as you're going through that meal planning process, that inventory and putting your meals together, that then drives your grocery list. And I promise you, if you do that step first, you will cut your food budget in half. You will cut your money that you spend at the grocery store in half. I can't tell you how many, if I don't do that step, for some reason in my mind, every single week, I think I need a bag of frozen chicken breasts. And so I end up with 3 or 4 extra bags of chicken breasts in my freezer every time I don't do that step in the process. So I encourage you to do that. You will save a ton of money. And then of course we can't ignore COVID in the room. So COVID's not in the room. I'm just joking. It's just a saying. Anyway, we want to make sure that we are, being safe. And if you're not comfortable with maybe going to the grocery store, reading all those ingredients labels, the grocery stores are making it really simple for pickup services. And I know Walmart's doing more and more on their pickup app that you can look up all the ingredients before you choose something. And that's a nice place to grocery shop when you're right there in your kitchen and you can kind of get up and wait a second, did I need this? And you can look. And so doing some of those pickup services, I know Instacart delivery program, they'll deliver it from any of the grocery stores. So that's a really good one. And I believe Aldi's has a delivery service now. And so of course, Hy-Vee and Price Cutter have gotten on board too. So just tap into some of those. They're really handy, saves you a lot of time, saves you a lot of money. So, okay, guys, I think we're there. Let's see if anybody else has any questions. All right. Okay, so I don't see any other questions. If you guys have any, I'm going to unshare now, and you guys have these slides. So if you guys have any other questions, you know how to find me. I encourage you to go ahead and check out that boot camp that I mentioned earlier. So, oh, great. Oh, good. We have another question. Oh, sorry. What type of illnesses are related to all those ingredients that cause inflammation? You know what illnesses aren't? I'm telling you. So let's go to inflammation for a second. I do have we do have some time. So when we talk about inflammation, let's say you get a cut on your finger, your immune system kicks in, all those immune system chemicals rush to that cut on your finger heals up, and then your immune system goes quiet again. When we have chronic inflammation, your immune system never goes quiet. So your immune system is constantly activated, okay? And so instead of knowing what to attack and what not to attack, one of the things that can happen when your immune system gets disrupted like that is autoimmune diseases will pop up. So think type 1 diabetes, celiac disease, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, multiple sclerosis. Those are all these autoimmune types of diseases that absolutely are driven by a disruption in the immune system. So that's one of them. Another thing is that chronic inflammation creates type 2 diabetes. So when we think about that, like how does that work? Well, when you think about diabetes is an overproduction of insulin, and it is an insensitivity to insulin. So now we're not sensitive to our insulin, and what creates that is that inflammation. So there's a disruption in the communication between the insulin and the cells, and that's created by inflammation. Inflammation also is what causes a heart attack. So if you just were developing some plaque or something in your body, that our body can handle a little bit of that. What actually creates cardiovascular disease is inflammation. That's what triggers that. That's what causes that increase in that. So those are just a few. Rachel, would there be any other ones? Or those are kind of the big hitters that I think we deal with a lot? Yeah.
How much high fructose corn syrup? I mean, I look at that as an additive. And, rates now for fatty liver are higher than ever. And it's in our children too. And it's not from alcohol. It's from the high fructose corn syrup that we're consuming in large amounts from Starbucks drinks, sodas, juices, and the prepackaged foods that's on the shelf. So I would say fatty liver is huge. And also, they're saying the rates of pancreatic cancer are increasing, and that is having to do with the amount of sugar that is being, has to go somewhere. If we have too much buildup in our body, and it's actually being deposited in our pancreas. So rates of pancreatic cancer, which have terrible outcomes, are on the rise too.
Okay. That's great information. Yeah, and so let me just kind of connect those two dots just for Rachel's such a great point. So talking about fructose, fructose, and it's the high fructose corn syrup, and in any kind of sugar, all sugars have fructose. Fructose is only metabolized by our liver, and our liver can only handle a small amount. So what the liver does is it converts that fructose to fat, okay? And that's where we get the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And think about fructose kind of being metabolized the same way as alcohol. So kind of think of that. And so it happens in the liver, and that's why both of those drive liver disease, or the fatty liver disease. And then and then again, the pancreatic cancer. So all of that's very related. So being, that's why I'm not overselling it when I say to be ingredients warriors. That is what's creating all of the problems that we're dealing with today. So any other questions that anybody has? All right, guys. You know, I could talk about this stuff forever, but I won't keep you any longer. So looks like we have a hand up, but I don't think we got there. All right, very good. All right, you guys give us a call if you want to do boot camp. It's pretty incredible. The daily accountability, you send pictures into us every day, and we can give you feedback on what you're eating on your meals every day. There's 25 modules that include all kinds of things from documentaries to cookbook recommendations to stress eating and mindfulness and all of that. So it's a pretty comprehensive program. We're just really excited about it and have had great outcomes so far. So let us know if you want to sign up, and I'll let you guys go back to work. I know you're thrilled. Everybody stay safe and know that we're just you know, praying for you guys, and I've always loved our partnership with you, and let us know how we can help. Thank you. Bye-bye.